Childhood and Growing Up. This is for B.Ed first year, exclusively for Pondicherry University, explained by Dr. Shubha, Vasavi College of Education, Pondicherry. Unit 9, Personality and Social Cognition. Under this, we will be learning meaning of personality, self-concept, self-acceptance, self-actualization, self-confidence, self-interest, self-disclosure, self-development, self-help, symbols of self, culture and the self, self-discrepancies, threats to self-esteem and social cognition. Self-discrepancies. Now what is this? This is a mismatch between the self-perception. Now I am thinking that I am very good, I am hardworking, but what I am actually, I am very lazy. So there is a mismatch between the thinking about myself and the real myself. So this is what discrepancy, the mismatch. This consists of mismatch about between the self-perception. Now what are the different perceptions we have? An actual self, that is qualities people think they actually possess. They think. An ideal self, qualities people would like to have, that is I want to be. I need to be like this. I need to be very dynamic. I need to walk fast like Rajinikanth. So likewise. An art self, qualities people think that they should possess. So these three things are there: actual self, ideal self, ought to be, that ought self. Now this theory was developed in an attempt to answer the following question: why is it that when people are emotionally overwhelmed by tragedies or serious setbacks in their lives, such as death of their children, loss of their jobs, or the breakup of their marriages, some suffer from depression, whereas others suffer from anxiety? Even when the tragic event is the same, people's emotional reactions can be very different. That is, one takes it in a very light way, but one is dejected and breaks up. So according to self-discrepancy theory, this difference between the ideals and oughts holds the answer to the mystery of people having different emotional reactions to the same negative life events. Now what do you exactly mean by self-discrepancy? Divergence, disparity, difference, disagreement, dissimilarity, variance, inconsistency, and incongruity. Now what are the threats to self-esteem? Children face lots of threats to their self-esteem. Threats strike out at our very soul. They can bring us to our knees or inspire us to rise up. Some people will take it up as a challenge. If their self-esteem is being threatened, like if somebody challenges me, you are fit for nothing, then they will say, who are you to tell me? Who are you to judge me? I will rise. And they will study very well. They'll take first rank and they'll show you. They'll project as a very successful person. So they take it in a positive way. But some people, if you say you are fit for nothing, then they will be dejected and they will go out. And some people may attempt suicide also. It was predicted that following a major threat to self-esteem, individuals would experience an ego shock, a temporary freezing of consciousness and emotional numbness. Means what? If somebody is telling me, if my friend who I really trust and have faith, or maybe your class teacher who you really like, if that person is telling, you're fit for nothing, means you get an ego shock. Then you become emotionally numb, means you cannot think further. You cannot react. That such a great person who I really trust and I have faith is not having a good opinion about me, and she's telling me about like this. So you get emotional numbness and you freeze. Actually, this is a famous saying: demands for equality for women are threats to men's self-esteem and cells of sexual turf. That is, men do not like that women are equal to them. Men want to know that no, women are not equal to us. They have to obey us. So this is the ideology which has been instilled in their mind from time immemorial. So when we say women are equal, this is a threat to men. If a student is being tested academically through tests, written composition, other projects, there will inevitably be some perceived threats to his or her ego. The academic success and failure of a student may affect his or her ego. That is, when you go for an interview also, that is, you have some fear. See, there is a threat to your self-esteem. Now this person is going to ask questions. Will I answer very well, or will I stumble? That if I don't answer, then I feel bad. So it's a threat to your self-esteem. And whenever we give any oral test to the students, it is a threat to self-esteem. A further question is how these ego threats affect an individual relationships with friends or maybe romantic partners. Answers to this question may help both students and those involved in relationships with students better understand how to cope with the relational problems that occur as a result of ego threats. Now, whenever your self-esteem is under threat, there will be a problem in your relationship also. So you need to know how to handle this threat to self-esteem. This need to be taught to the children. These days, the social media, because of the social media, everyone is wearing a mask. Though our ego is under threat, we don't want to show it in our social media. We need to ponder over this picture, and it gives lots of meanings and ideas. Now the next topic is social cognition. What do you mean by cognition? Cognition is awareness, the knowledge. How we think about others in the society and how those thoughts influence us. This is known as social cognition. Attitudes and attitude formation, impression formation, attribution and cognitive dissonance, resonance and dissonance. That is, when you look at other person, how do you visualize about their personality in your mind? This is social cognition, how you think about the society. Now why this is essential? Now you need to have a good cognition about the society, a good attitude about the other person. Only then you can have a very successful relationship. This is the way we attend to, we store, we remember and use the information about other people and the world around us. This can also be said as first impressions about the person whom you are viewing to. Now in one of the units I have told you, like J. Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti, a great philosopher, he says, whenever you see a person, whenever you relate to a person, you don't relate with the actual person, you relate to the image which you have formed in your mind about that person. This we need to really ponder into. Yes, we may be thinking that that person is not a good person, but in fact maybe in real he may be a good person. So the image which we have about that person just by looking at the external appearance may deceive us. So we need to have proper impression and proper cognition to have a good social relationships. Social cognition is the interjection, that is the intersection of social psychology and cognitive psychology. Now, what is a social psychology? The scientific study of how people think and feel about and influence and relate to one another in the society. So that is social psychology. How you relate to the other person, how you behave with the other person in the society, maybe in your family. Your family is a mini school, is also a miniature society, we say. Cognitive psychology, the scientific study of basic mental abilities. So your perception, how you perceive, your idea, the image which you form. So that is the perception. Learning and memory. Now what is the social cognition? Social cognition, how people think about themselves and the social world, how they select, how they interpret, remember, and use the social information to make judgments and decisions. So this is social cognition. So this cognition involves the process involved in perceiving other people and how we come to know about the people and the world around us. It involves the study of these mental processes that involved in processing, perceiving, remembering, attending to other people in the social world. Psychologists are interested in why we attend to certain information, how this information is stored in the memory, and how it is then used to interact with other people. This develops over the course of childhood and adolescence. As children grow, they become more and more aware not only of their own feelings, but also the emotions and the mental states of the others, how the other person is viewing us, how the other person is watching and observing, that also they will understand. As this awareness increases, children become more adept at understanding how others are feeling and how to respond in social situations and taking the perspective of others, taking the opinion of others. Now Piaget says, a child's cognitive development goes through a series of stages. During the earlier stages of development, they are very egocentric. They see the world from their own perspective and struggle to think about how other people may view the world. But as they grow older, they become increasingly adept to perspective taking and have an increased ability to think about how and why people act the way they do in social. This picture, I just want you to understand the three attitudes that determine your success. Now, whenever we talk about social cognition, our own behavior and the environment and the peer behavior, that is the society, and how you interact with the society, that gives you the success. Now here, the security, the faith and the hope. The faith and the hope with the other person determine your success in life. Thank you.